Yeah, you already know it's your boy 10 Toes Down, and we on the AHA podcast. Been a few days since your boy been here, man, but life is what life does, man. Being a practical joke, you gotta stay out there in the field where all that shit is real at, and that's why I've been for the last few days. But even though I've been away, that does not mean that I haven't been keeping my ear to the street. And after having keeping my ear to the street, I hear the biggest buzz right now that's going on in our society, or what we would call a trending wave, is the Puffy thing, y'all. They about to start this trial today, May 5th on Cinco de Mayo. Even though I don't know why a lot of people be celebrating Cinco de Mayo if they're not from Latin America, a worker, or someone who was in that movement from back in the day. So motherfuckers who don't have no knowledge about what Cinco de Mayo is, or out here working, or furthering the culture of the Latino people. I don't know what they over here celebrating Cinco de Mayo for, but moving right along and back to what I was saying. So now they demonizing Puffy, right? They putting him down inside, this fitted suit of the Joker. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate because in our society, I was just telling Shimmy this the other day, in our society, especially as it relates to black men, as soon as a black man reaches the pinnacle of whatever height that they allow for a black man to reach inside the society, you heard me right, at whichever height they allow for a black man to reach in this society, his toppling over, or when they come to topple him over, it's always something dealing with, some type of a sexual deviancy. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, when a black man gets money and power, if we want to bring him down, we have a sure shot in looking into what's going on in his bedroom, right? And I say that because Puffy ain't the first person that's sitting in this place right now. I mean, lest we forget, Bill Cosby once sat in this place. Lest we forget, R. Kelly once sat in this place. And to all you people who feel R. Kelly is guilty, that's your point of view. You are entitled to that just as much as the people who are entitled to believe that he's not guilty. You understand what I'm saying? That the system railroaded him. You see, so you don't have no dominance over that. You don't have no monopoly over that. R. Kelly is guilty because I personally know the victims who was subjected to that type of stuff. Let me stop you right there. It had been a long time since the accusations were made against him before they even brought him to bear. I'm not going to say justice because I know more about this criminal and justice system that you can even possibly imagine. To the naysayers and the lay people out there who just watch entertainment for entertainment's sake. I get it. You see what I'm saying? But when you get to start speaking, especially with details into, situations or circumstances or things and events that you have no personal knowledge about, be humble, man. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're making yourself look like a fool to those who know. I just recently posted that, man. There is no common sense, because people like to put on these airs and go, well, common sense should have said. There is no common sense between those who know and those who don't. And that's clear. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not even going to give no example to that. I'm going to go back to what I was saying. Puffy is not the first black, rich, and business-savvy, successful man who they have attempted to tar and feather in this way. And I'm not even going to say attempt, because he is tarred and feathered. Let's just say that, this was, an egalitarian, environment or atmosphere with a backdrop of true innocence, and he was able to prevail. The stigma that has been foisted upon him from the court of public opinion, he will have to wear that for the rest of his life. Puffy is about to become, if you will, our modern day O.J. Simpson, because they're going to make a public pariah out of this guy. It doesn't matter. He could bring all the top brass lawyers all he want. You know what I'm saying? Inside the opinion of the public, Puffy's a creep, right? But he's a creep only because he got caught. Let me say that. He is only a creep because he got caught. Because the who's who list that they have of people, top celebrities that was at those parties with him, I mean, this shit is just mind-boggling. You see what I'm saying? Because to have been there had to have been participating in the events that was taking place there. I mean, and even if you didn't participate, what they say, guilty by association, right? Because they got all types of rumors and, leaked tapes and videos, personal assistants and bodyguards that's coming out giving you a who's list of people who were there at those parties. I just posted it on my page, on Facebook. I'm going to put it on YouTube. A clip of, what's his name, Ben Zilla, or whatever that actor name is, or whatever, and him and Puffy they starred in a movie together. Ben Stiller his name is. And him and Puffy starred in a movie together, and one of the parts that was written into the script is Ben Stiller going to Puffy, knocking on his door and saying, yo, I had a good time, man. Make sure you invite me to one of those parties again. You understand? Back then, it was a thing to ho hum. Back then, it was a thing to laugh about. But today, it's now something that we could prosecute them for. And we as a society, we as a collective, we really need to be humble with regard to taking on these airs to think that we can judge people, especially those among us. Because if we have sons or nephews or grandchildren, and we are, teaching them along this trajectory to be the best that you could possibly be. By example, Puffy embodied that. I don't care what we feel about him. By example, he was a black man that created an icon and sold it to the world. Bad boy. You understand what I'm saying? Bad boy. And he sold it to the world. And he did something that was a genius. He took a hit and put a loop on it to flip the hit, knowing that a hit is always a hit, gonna be a hit, and then put motherfuckers to put tracks on him, right? And then now their lyrics against a hit with a loop, that's gonna always be a hit and a loop and a loop and a loop and a hit. They put lyrics to it, and now the artists he's bringing into the fold are instant hit makers. Yo, that was genius of the boy. He took what was there, what everybody else was looking at, and showed us something new how to do with it. Right? That's his genius. Right? And he brought a bunch of people to the forefront, a bunch of people to the world. Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans, 112, Carl Thomas, The Locks, Black Rob, bless the dead, the kid that caught the body, G-Dep, Loon, Mace. All of these dudes come under this dude's umbrella or come from under his umbrella. You see what I'm saying? The contributions that he has given to the world, right? And so now we all sit back, with all these, magnificent ears on, and we pass a judgment on this guy, man. But this guy don't reach the pinnacle that we are all aspiring to be or all aspiring to reach. And so this is what I'm saying that you need to be careful about. Because in giving, an example along a trajectory to your young boys, to your sons, to your nephews, to your grandchildren, you understand what I'm saying? And we look toward his ability to excel that high and then get that high, and they just topple him over for the same things that they once used to sit and applaud him about and applaud him for. You understand what I'm saying? Puffy was nominated one time for a fucking Oscar when he played in the movie Monsters Ball. I know y'all remember that. And that movie itself was crazy. Only a reflection or a glimpse in of what American culture and its credo is about. A correction officer that, just lost touch with reality, that he just crashed, fatally. American culture, But yet we still sit here and we judge. Oh, but Cat Williams said this, and 50 been saying that. They have, and they was. But at the end of the day, in order to know, you had to go in order to know. You had to be there in order to have that type of information. If not, then you going off of he say, she say. And if you're going off of he say, she say, that's hardly ever wise. Not saying that it's ever, but it's hardly ever wise. Right? To go off of he say, she say. So now we get people who were once there, ex-participators, right? Now pointing the finger, It makes us harken back to one of those plays, one of those movies, especially the Greek ones, where the person in the court be grandstanding and showing off on everybody. And then next thing you know, the scene turns and everybody that he was showing off is directed their attention and their, vitriol towards him. And now he looks like the one that's exposed and is naked. It seems we get a kick out of playing that game with each other. We always got something bad to say, or we all can find something dirty in somebody else's backyard to throw to the forefront about them. All of us could do that about any of us. All of us can find something dirty about any of us and hold it up hold the person to judgment for. We all can do that. You see what I'm saying? But in doing that, what does that accomplish? Okay, they take down Puffy today. Let the next black man reach that pinnacle and not understand what it means to be humble and watch they do the same shit to him. There's no coincidence that Jay-Z got off. No, Jay-Z got off because, for one, I personally think that shit was a fucking trick back. For two, he understands his lane as being this rich and successful nigga. I'm keeping it real. Hov ain't gonna never ripple the wave. He ain't gonna never do that. Hov ain't gonna never go over the stove and stir that pot. He already told y'all he did that already when he was in the street. But he definitely ain't gonna do it to a societal and a political one. You understand? Saying he knows how much to say and how far he can go in towing that line. Then that boy gonna get right back in his place. You see what I'm saying? We can say what we want about him, but he's definitely a master of the game because he's showing us how to play. In America, yeah, they will let you excel. They will let you make money. They will let you reach a certain pinnacle. But once you get there, in order to remain there, you gotta know your place. Because if you don't know your place, they're going to take this media, they're going to take this internet, they're going to find disgruntled people in your past, starting with your family members, then your ex-lovers, then your so-called friends, and they're going to get them to come out and say the most horriblest things and cruelest and foulest things that they could say about you. You understand what I'm talking about? And so this is where we see this man at today. And we are all guilty of this bullshit. We are all guilty of this hypocrisy. Because really, in the reality of life, can't none of us judge no Puffy? How? How the fuck we could judge him? First and foremost, we don't even understand what that lifestyle was about. Because if we wasn't invited to those parties, we don't know what the fuck was going on. And if we do, and what we do know, as far as what was going on, it came by a third party. Yeah, they got tapes, a lifestyle that we in the real world cannot identify with. So how can we speak to that? When I was in prison, I asked the hearing officer that one time, man, this motherfucker was doing a hearing on me. I had came in with a dirty urine, you know what I mean? I had tested positive for smoking weed. And so when I come up in there with the dude, man, I sit down, I give him a story, man. He like, yo, man, see, you like got 3 or 4 of these shits on your jacket already. I'm like, yeah, man, shit, I smoke weed, man, you know what I mean? He like, yeah, but that shit is not allowed here in prison. I said, yo, that's easy for you to say because you ain't in here but for a few hours. You go home. He said, well, that's true. I said, yo, do you know what it means to have 13 different cellmates in 40 months? He said, what do you mean by that? I said I had 13 different cellmates. That's when they had me in double cell bunking. I was in solitary for 11 straight years. And so I'm telling them, they had me with 13 different cellmates in 40 months. That's like 3.5 years. They had me circulating all these different people. They was putting all type of niggas, motherfucking IG was putting motherfuckers in there to try and investigate on me, motherfucking. They put weird niggas in there that they were just playing games. When you stay in the box for that long and they see that you don't break, they try and figure out ways how they can affect this psychological warfare on you even more. So they had a rotation at one time of all these different bunkies, cellmates they kept putting in my motherfucking cell. So while I'm at the hearing, I'm telling the hearing officer, I'm like, yo, I went through 13 different cellmates in 40 months. So that's 13 different personalities I had to become familiar with and attempt to adapt to in order for us to cohabitate in maybe a 9 by 11 foot cell, right? So after going through all the motherfucking bunkies in 40 months, man, shit, at some point, a nigga needed a joint. You understand? Shit, man, I had to smoke a joint, calm me down. What the fuck going on? Like, my mom was playing tricks on me. The joint was the only thing that calm motherfucking down. So, yeah, I smoked the joint. So he said, yo, I respect your honesty. I said, but let me ask you something. He was like, what's that? I said, you ever smoked a joint before? He said, nah, never. I never smoked a joint. I said, so how do you know what the effects of smoking a joint are? Well, what I read in the book. Oh, we ain't talking about what you read in the book. I'm asking you, do you have personal experience with it? He says, no, that never been my cup of tea. When I get home after doing all this work I do today, judge you guys at these hearings, how I unwind when I go home is I open up, my whiskey, and I drink it until I pass out. So now I'm saying to myself, huh? Because it wasn't too long ago, although it was in our understanding of what time is, but it wasn't too long ago when prohibition was the law, right? And so they partaking in one type of activity that will inebriate the mind against another type of activity where if engagement will lead to intoxication in the mind, but it's still intoxication nonetheless. So here you had it. I didn't point this out to him. I'm getting this point right now. But here you had it, the wino judging the weed head. Like, what the fuck type of justice can come from that? Nevertheless, after the dude told me no when he read all this shit in the book, this, that, and the third, I said, yo, man, respectfully, man, however you decide in this hearing, you decide. But respectfully, I just want to be heard. I find it rather hypocritical for somebody to judge somebody in a lifestyle that they themselves have no knowledge about. I just think that's hypocritical. You see what I'm saying? Because in order to understand the thing, you first must engage the thing. You see what I'm saying? Engage it so as to assume its point of view. Because who are we to judge about things that we have no knowledge about? That's just like you saying, yo, I hate spaghetti, but you never ate this shit before. How the fuck you hate something you never even ate before? Or even tasted before, right? That ain't no freaky thing we want to leave a motherfucker into a cubby hole. How do you know if you don't like it? We're not talking about that. We're talking about in the reality of life, things that we see and know to be practical. You understand what I'm saying? So how can we judge somebody based on a thing that we have no knowledge about? This country is good for that, especially our society. And because of the technology that has always been used on the Black and Latino community, it impacts us and fucks with us the most. Here it is right now where motherfuckers should be rallying around this motherfucker because we see what Goliath, that's what the system is. And each and every last one of us are proverbial Davids. We are now about to see Goliath, right, do a modern day lynching right before our very eyes. It ain't gonna surprise me. If it surprises a few of you, that's on y'all. But I seen these cocksuckers hang Saddam Hussein on national TV. Right? Gave him, captured him, made us all believe he was this boogeyman, right? This fucking media, right? Made us believe that he was this fucking boogeyman. Sent their motherfucking Gestapo out. They captured him, listen to me, quote unquote, captured him, quote unquote, captured him and delivered him to his people. The people they put into position. So now they delivered them to the people that they put into position, and the people that they put in position who looked like Saddam and was saying they was his own people hung them on national TV. And we all sat there on bated breath and watched this shit. Justified it. Oh, Saddam was killing his own people. Did you see what happened in the aftermath of Saddam? People don't talk about that. And so this is what we're doing right now. But just on a more smaller scale, we're going to keep it on a domestic one. Puffy got his hand caught in a trick bag, y'all. And they about to make this nigga into a joker, right? And then use our own kind to demonize. our own kind to pull them down. No, niggas be doing shit like that. Once they get money, they be beating bitches up. Shorty, I ain't talking about your personal relationship. I'm talking about on a grand scale, the shit they can and will do to your son. You see, because at a time in our society, the same shit they holding them account for, the same shit they prosecuting them for, was once the same shit they practiced and celebrated. For the life of me, I ain't understand how Hugh Hefner and Bill Cosby wasn't co-defendants. If they said Bill was doing all that freaky, sheeky, deaky, the shit to them girls inside that mansion, and Hugh Hefner was the owner of that motherfucking place, how the fuck they wasn't co-defendants? Let them run in public housing right now, and your mom's got a grip in the crib, and it belonged to you. She and you gonna be co-defendants. How the fuck they knock Bill for doing that shit in the Playboy Mansion, but never take the owner into question? They never even so much as arrested that cocksucker. And if you ask me, he worse, because he was the ones that was procuring the women to come over there anyway. You people that watch Pornhub and the porn, check out the name Tracy Lords. They had this girl at 15 years old, little white chick, fucking the shit out of her in the Playboy Mansion, giving her cocaine. You know, these are the respectful people that our society want to recount and tell you their stories about. You know, the Larry Flint and them type of motherfuckers. You know, cold-blooded European perverts. But in America, they celebrated as respected businessmen. Come on, our fucking sitting president was fucking found guilty in a civil court for fucking trying to pay off a prostitute. And yet we want to judge Puffy? How? When the motherfucker we got in the Oval Office is spending money for the same shit Puffy is being accused of. You see what I'm saying, man? We got to be careful, man, with regard to what we allow, you know, to impact us in the way that we begin to react on. You know, influences are many, man. You know, I'm watching this sister today on YouTube, whatever her name, Sweet Tea, crazy ass lady. And she actually sitting up there defending a lawyer, Tony Busby, who was proved to be a creep in his endeavor towards shaking down Jay-Z. No. If we gonna go what's on the table and we say facts and law and justice, law, facts, and justice, then what's law, facts, and justice is that dude got caught doing some bullshit. How the fuck people for the life of me still trying to say, but yeah, Jay-Z did fuck a 13-year-old, he just got away because he Illuminati. It's crazy to me. You know, that just goes to feed into the bullshit that we see on the internet, social media, and guess what? I ain't feeding into it. Nigga know what crazy is. Bring that shit around me, homie, and that's just what it is. You understand what I'm saying? Accusing this man for something that he didn't do. But Ho better be on point because they acting like it was a ho-hum moment, playing mom about it, hush, hush, this, that, and the third. They might still be aiming at the boy. You understand? But I don't know, again, because like Jay-Z know how to be humble. Not only do he know how to be humble, he know when to be humble. And that's important when you endeavoring toward becoming a master of the game. That's just not no title that anybody can just adorn loosely. The shit ain't gonna fit you. Hey, bum-ass nigga with that shit on. No. This dude is endeavoring toward being a master of the game. And I don't knock him for that. Because in our society, that's how you gotta play when you ask to sit at their table, homie. Puffy and all them dudes asked for this, man, so they got to deal with it. You understand what I'm saying? But in the reality of life, conscious mind, whatever, critical minds, opinionated mind, capitalistic minds, people gonna figure out ways to speak to it. You see? And so I'm speaking to it because it impacts us as a community. Why does it impact us? Because it's a part of the culture. Everywhere you go, that's all they're talking about. We are now being bombarded with Puffy's trial beginning today. You know, they're gonna try to, hook this up like this some OJ shit. Because in a sense, if and when they do win, that's definitely gonna be a hit back for OJ getting acquitted. These people don't forget and forgive like the way we do. The black community is too quick and always so eager to engage in that old sap sucker shit. That's how come they treat us the way that they do. You understand? But they ain't forgetting, huh? OJ got away for killing a white bro. Huh. Puffy ain't getting away with this. You see, it's like a rainbow coalition of motherfuckers that was up in there. And race today ain't played on skin color, although there is something called white skin privilege. But racism today is played on classism, man. You know, when you in that loop. And we about to watch a modern day lynching, y'all. So I just want to put y'all on point about that, man, because like I said, I think it's important for us to be aware because they always use this media and what looks like us to mislead us. You know, the dude that's the prosecutor inside this case is a dude named Damian Williams, black kid. Quite sure he come from a black family who always taught him when he was younger to grow up to be the best that he could be. You know, they found that he was going to become, you know, a legal beagle, and they probably pushed him all the way to the forefront. So we have to consider that. But at the end of the day, we were all caught in this same trick bag, man. Because if his pursuit and justice isn't able to clean that shit or isn't to clean that shit up, then he pursuing the wrong path, at least in my opinion. You know. But stay woke though, man. You understand what I'm saying? Because this gonna be a big thing. I don't know how long it's gonna last. They saying they got Cassie coming and they got a whole bunch of other witnesses who don't even gotta go by their names. This how they're playing, man. You know, justice is coming from a corrupt stratagem. Like, what do you mean a motherfucker don't, like, you don't have to disclose their names? Like, a part of the law, the 8th Amendment, is that we have a right to confront and address our accusers, you know, through cross-examination. But how could you when they got witnesses against you that you don't even know about? You know, I mean, you know, the level of hypocrisy in our society is just at an all-time high. You know, and it's important for us to be able to check it in ourselves so that this way our demonstration and disposition while in our community and with our community would be one, you know, that a leader would be, you know, proud about giving a commemoration to. You see what I'm saying? Like, check it in yourself before you bring it outside, because when you check it in yourself, you will bring it outside. You know, you check that hypocrisy in yourself. When you come out, you engage the community, you ain't dealing with them from a hypocritical standpoint. You know, because this judgment shit is just crazy. You know, none of us are in really a position to judge any of us. You know, some of us are living better than others, right? But that's just the station of life. You know, we get what we endeavor toward. You know, and some of us are less fortunate. But the ones who have it don't have a right to speak down to the ones who are less fortunate, because it wasn't too long ago when you was right there. You know, I say that to say how I just heard Cardi B saying dumb shit. And I always love Cardi B. Anybody look at my post, I always root for her. When her and her baby father, her husband, whatever, was first started going through this shit, I was the first one on social media telling dudes, yo, stop that. Stop gassing her up, y'all. All the sisters out there using Cardi B as their way to get back at their baby fathers. Cardi B and them don't even know you or your baby father. That don't got nothing to do with you. Y'all sitting there gassing her to do shit that y'all did that backfired on y'all, left y'all miserable, suit this stupid ass girl up to do. So what, cause she got money? What you think, that makes you formidable from outside influences because you got money? People with money still are affected and impacted by the real and regular society. This is who they're performing for. They want our acceptance of them to become the stars that they are. So yeah, what you say will impact and affect her. And she jumped right out the window, idiot that she is, that I don't give a fuck attitude, jumped right out the window, and look at the trick bag she in. The dude she was bragging about his mom's right now while they saying her pussy stink. Come on. And it ain't, yo, that's how you niggas is, because that's not how niggas is. That's how this society is. We gas each other into doing some bullshit, and then when the bullshit happens, we step back, act like we ain't had nothing to do with it, and pass judgment. And that shit is crazy. You see, because she in a trick bag right now. She on social media, like I'm recording this fucking video, defending what I'm saying here, sharing with you. Shit is crazy. It's not the people, it's what's in the culture, man. But the people, too, contribute toward whatever it is that we find in this culture. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, man, you know, we really need to check it within ourselves so that when we do bring it outside, we see, you know, the needle going down. Because that shit at an all-time high, y'all, right now. And we ain't gonna never be able to get around something, get over something, or get through something, pretending like we trying to step to it. Because that's all we do. When we sit and judge, oh, he did this and she did that, but they said this and they said that. Like, what is that? How is that making anything better? You know, every time these big elections come up, they so tough on crime. But crime continues. Huh? What the fuck is they being tough for? Then they doing it in our faces with our dollar in their pocket. And don't nobody say nothing about that. And when we do, we say, yo, what can we say? They ain't gonna listen to us. They're gonna put our black asses in jail if we start speaking up too long. That's the truth, but at least say something. If not, then keep your mouth closed on everything. But y'all not, we not. The shit we see before us, we speak to. Whether it's to give us distraction from our own everyday realities or whatever, we speak to. And so since we speaking to it, and because we speaking to it, we gonna speak to it, man, with some sensibility, man. If they doing it to Puffy, they can do that to any one of us. I don't give a fuck how much you try to keep your kids protected and sheltered. If they can do that to him, they can do that to any one of us. You so what I'm asking, you know, I don't like to restrict it to no community. I'm asking the people. You know, Ashton Kutcher and all them dudes was there, Leonardo DiCaprio. Like I said, they had a rainbow coalition up in there. TD Jakes, like, what's up with TD Jakes? What's up with TD Jakes? Like, look at the level of hypocrisy. I remember at a time in the 90s when TD Jakes was in the black community having black women not even sleeping with their husbands until he told them to do so. Couldn't find out this dude being accused? Come on, homie. You know, this level of hypocrisy is just crazy. And then he not speaking to it. Oprah not doing no interviews on him so that she could bring him to the community and give us a better explanation of what's going on. I remember people believed in that man. You know, he was a motivational speaker for a long time. You know, but this society holds us to our latest and our most dastardly deed. Never mind everything else we did. We are all amounted to that one moment, and that's fucking hypocrisy. And with that, I'm gonna leave y'all right there, man, because you already know your boy got to go. Chasing that bag. Had to sit here and share because I had some time to share. You already know everything that came from me on this square. YouTube ain't got nothing to do with what I'm talking about, nothing to do with what I'm saying. They don't write or promote nothing for me. Only thing they do is allow me some space so I can have some space to come over here and talk my shit. With that, make sure y'all hit the like buttons. And if you fuck with me, subscribe. I'll be back a little bit later on.